Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. And welcome to Smash Saturday, where I talk about all things Smash related until we get a new Smash game, whether that be Smash 6 or Smash Ultimate Deluxe. And today I want to talk about low tier heroes, or why people cheer for the lower tier characters winning tournaments and doing well in general. And I think it's fairly obvious on the outset. You've got like the broken characters running the scene, you have Steve and Sonic kind of mowing over most characters and validating a lot of characters, ruining the meta for a lot of people that play these characters that just get destroyed by them. So it really changes the meta with these broken characters, but when you see someone doing extremely well with a low tier, it's just kind of exciting. It's cool to see. You're inspired for to some degree. You're like, man, I wish I could play like them, because clearly that is an extremely talented player right there. They know what they are doing with not just their character, but with the game in general, to be able to exploit the advantages of their character in such a way that they can even beat characters that are much better than them, excuse me. And one of the biggest things I've seen recently is that it's been making the rounds that Tarkatori, Little Mac main, definitely the best Little Mac in the world, right up there with Peanut. I know Peanut's kind of hasn't been attending nearly as much. I haven't seen as much from him, but Tarkatori has really been making waves with Little Mac. Little Mac is a very bad character in both Smash games he's appeared in. Smash 4, he was absolutely abysmal. He's significantly better in Smash Ultimate, and I think at some point we got to the point where we were like, Mac isn't bottom 3 anymore. For a long time we were all considering Mac as either the second or worst character in the game, right up there with Ganondorf, right down there, excuse me, with Ganondorf. But now it's looking like Mac is just moving up the tier list a little bit each and every month or so, because it seems like Mac mains have really been taking advantage of his biggest strengths, which are of course his ground speed and his smash attacks, his armor, everything that makes him really good on the ground. Now, some characters really can do very well against him, especially characters that can stay in the air and can edge guard Mac really, really well. Take Jigglypuff, for instance. Jigglypuff is one of the best characters in the air, has so much mobility, can get you off stage with one time with an F throw. I talked about Jigglypuff not too long ago, if you want to go check out that video. Get you off stage with one F throw and then edge guard Little Mac and take him out really quickly. However, Tarkatori about 4 months ago beat Base Mage, so we've got the best Little Mac and the best Jigglypuff fighting against each other, ended up beating him in Grand Finals. So he started off the set, he was in loser's side of Grand Finals, so he had to win 2 sets against Base Mage to ultimately win the tournament. He starts off with a strong 2-game lead, and so he's looking to reset the bracket. Base Mage turns it up, he takes 2 games right back, and is about to start a reverse 3-0 to win the entire tournament. Tarkatori pulls out all the stops, he beats Base Mage, and he goes into a second set. This time Base Mage starts off with a 2-0 lead, and Tarkatori comes back with one of the craziest reverse 3-0s I have ever seen. In fact, in last hit scenario, he goes off stage, it's so close, it looks like he's probably done here. Base Mage goes for an aerial, he up Bs at a point where if he did not hit Jigglypuff at this point, he was going to fall to his death and lose the tournament altogether. But instead he scoops him up, ignoring the hitbox from Jigglypuff, taking him off the top and winning the tournament. It was inspiring. I remember watching it just popped in my feed. That's what kind of gave me this idea, along with this other tournament I'm going to talk about, where I just wanted to talk about how inspiring this kind of is, because Jigglypuff's not like a crazy top tier or anything like that. It is really cool to see Jigglypuff doing well as well, but seeing Mac beat Jigglypuff, probably one of his very worst matchups, if not his worst matchup on paper, see him beat that is so insane. But then again, Tarkatori does it very recently, winning a Japanese tournament. It was a local, it doesn't count towards like the Luma rank or anything like that, but he ends up beating Shuton and Ken, an Olimar main, an Olimar Aegis co-main, and then a Sonic Sephiroth co-main, more Sonic than Sephiroth with Ken. He ended up beating both of them to win this tournament. 2 insanely huge wins, again, with Little Mac. Little Mac against Sonic is, again, a really awful matchup. Despite how fast Mac is, Sonic has so much advantage with his spin dash, because he can get full invincibility when he charges up to that little yellow part portion of the attack, so he can get so much advantage against a character like Little Mac because he can just out-button you. As soon as he gets that move out, doesn't matter how much frame advantage you have, he's going to hit you. And if he gets you off stage one time, Sonic's edge guarding is probably one of the best in the game, if not the best in the game. It's so fantastic. He has so much air mobility. He has so much recovery potential. He has so many just lingering aerials. It's insane. And the fact that Tarakatori was able to take this tournament is such a testament to his skill and his knowledge of the game and how to abuse the mechanics of the game. It is really inspiring, and I love to see stuff like that. It's the same thing whenever you see a like low tier player end up getting top 8 at a big major. I remember back, I can't remember who the player was all of a sudden. It was a Lucas main. He ends up beating one of the prominent Steve mains of the time, ends up getting top 8 with Lucas, and it was insane to see him do so, and everyone was cheering. It was so exciting that I remember watching the feed and seeing the venue just going nuts. No one's cheering for Lucas typically. No one's like, yes, Lucas, the best character in the game. No one's just popping off for Lucas in everyday sets. But when it's against a character like Steve and they're doing super well, it's so amazing to see, and we get so excited by it. Same thing with Donkey Kong, with Chunky Kong, when he top 8'd fairly recently. It is so cool. It made me get out my Donkey Kong. I love DK. I don't play him all that much, but it made me start playing him for a solid month or two. I was just on the DK train having so much fun because he's a great character. He's very weak in a lot of ways. He has some of the best advantage state in the game, and he has the worst disadvantage state in the game pretty much. So it's like a double-edged sword here, but seeing people take advantage of characters that don't do well in the meta and really shining with them is so fantastic. Another thing that I saw fairly recently was Gluttony winning this big tournament. Now, Wario is arguably still a top-tier character, if not the top of height tier. He's no low-tier hero, but watching him fight against Steve is so abysmal. Wario absolutely gets decimated by Steve, and suddenly he becomes the low-tier hero against that matchup. And watching him dismantle, who was it? It wasn't Maze Beans, it was the other one. Oh shoot, I've forgotten the number one. Crepe Salé, the French? Shoot. UK, wherever he is. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I believe he's French. The Steve main, he's now number 1 in Europe over Gluttony. Since he switched to essentially maining Steve, he plays Wario, he plays Rob that we didn't know about. He plays several other characters. He's very good at the game. He's not just carried by Steve, although his results have been significantly better since using the character, but he has pretty much beaten Gluttony's Wario every single time. And fairly recently, we saw this big tournament. Gluttony pops off against him and goes to game 5. He forces a game 5 in the first place, coming back from a pretty bad position in game 4. Forces game 5 and puts on just an exhibition on how to really show off your character strengths, and it's really cool to see. I love watching low tier heroes go crazy, or people winning really bad matchups. I did the exact same thing when Tweak beat oh shoot, now I'm losing all of my pro player names. Syrup, there we go. When he beat Syrup Steve, and then ended up going on to win the tournament, beating Sonics in grand finals. Tweak doesn't beat top Steve players typically because Diddy Kong has a really hard matchup against Steve. Sephiroth does okay, but he doesn't play Sephiroth all that much, and when he busts him out, it doesn't usually work out very well, and so he wanted to stick it out with the Diddy Kong. He was already playing hot. He ended up doing the exact same thing Gluttony did in game 4. It looked really bad. He started doing some crazy stuff and brought it all the way to game 5, ends up winning the set and then winning the tournament because he beat probably one of his biggest character demons in the entire game. It's just awesome to see. And that's what I love about Smash Ultimate. As much as I like to complain about the characters that are ruining the meta and making the game not very fun to play, not interacting, not encouraging any kind of interaction in the game, it's so cool to see when you have a character that really does not go well against one of these top tiers and ends up winning anyway. It's really inspiring. And Smash Ultimate does a pretty darn good job of making every character at least kind of work. You can make it work. We've seen Incineroar with SkyJ go up against Sonics and end up almost taking several sets against him, and it's crazy. Incineroar Sonic should be the most Sonic favored matchup in the entire game, and somehow SkyJ makes it work, and it's so cool to see. So I just wanted to talk about that today. I would love to know your favorite sets. If you have any in mind, if you're keyed into the professional scene, any like low tier upset sets, I would love to go watch them. I love to hear about them. What are your favorites? What if you've seen anybody pop off against a Steve Main playing as Little Mac? I would just really love to hear any of your stories. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.